Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Institute of Business Management, Lessons for Leaders. It's a pleasure to host yet another session for the Institute of Business Management, as well as all those who are joining us today. We have a great opportunity of hosting the previous shows, and what we've been seeing, all of our alumni across the different gatherings that we've had, they were very interested to know about networking, know about new roles, learn about the job opportunities that they are there in the market. So we understand these are tough times, and for leaders, we are always there. So today, I'm also joined by my colleague Sarah Mashood, who's going to be co-hosting today's session. So Sarah, welcome to Lessons for Leaders. How are you doing today?
Hi, thank you so much, Abrar. I'm well. I hope Sam's good too. Networking is very important, as you know, and it's going to be great if one could find out the benefits of networking. As they say, one person cannot do things alone, and we need a lot of discussions, debate, dialogue, thought-provoking sessions taking place to make it work. So I think we should start off with the introduction of Sam Waterfall, who is London's global career coach. He is trusted career advisor, international coach to CEOs, Fortune 500, senior leaders, FTSE 100 directors. He's author of 3 books, which also includes Amazon Kindle bestseller, The 7 Essential CV Upgrades, top 100 global business school guest lecturer on careers, and has also worked with MNCs like P&G, Walgreens, and moderators. Sam, over to you.
Thank you so much, and salam alaikum. Very pleased to be here. I appreciate this opportunity. I'm also humbled by the opportunity and this topic, and by speaking to the organization and also the esteemed alumni. Just such a great opportunity here. So thank you all for giving up your busy time. I appreciate it's a weekend, it's family time for us all. So thank you. My intention with any time I talk is always to do 2 things. I always want to be, I hope, interesting, but more importantly, useful. So I hope that if you're with me for the next 25, 30 minutes, I'm going to really share, my intention is to share some very actionable tips that you can use to improve your networking. So I think that that's really where I want to begin. It's something which I'm far from being perfect at myself. I think networking is one of these things that we often see as an extra that we can add on potentially on top. And that has to be okay, because there's the deadlines on the actions we have to get done. But very often, and Sarah, as you said, the networking, it's the relationships that are the glue that make the trust, that make everything else happen. And certainly on our own, nothing happens. And this all came about through some happy networking, Abrar, from yourself and myself. So it's incredible how this happens and how the doors are opened through networking. It keeps happening in my life, and I would love to, in this presentation, show you how I do that, and hopefully give you some tips to improve your own approaches as well.
Excellent. Sam, I wanted to pick up the conversation over here. Thank you so much being part of the alumni network. I believe once we understood, me being the General Secretary of the Alumni Association, we understood that all of our alumni, I mean, we have, alhamdulillah, across the globe, 13,000 plus alumni. And middle management is where the bottom of the pyramid right now is. So, I mean, we've got, say, around 10-15% of the alumni. We saw a wonderful presentation yesterday by the team who are there at the top of the pyramid, who are the directors and the C-level execs. So for all the audiences who are joining in, our leader for today, Sam Waterfall, he specializes in coaching the leaders, the chief executives and the chief marketing officers of different organizations. And a few things that Sam has brought to the table with his consulting practice called Obvious Candidate is something that I really got impressed. And once we spoke and once I understood the benefits, it was a wonderful opportunity for us to invite Sam to this platform and to give us these tips. So it's a part series. We've got 3-4 different very interactive sessions planned for yourselves. These are for COVID times. So Sam, by virtue of his global practice, is also giving away free consulting sessions to all the attendees of our sessions as well. So effective today, Sarah, yourself, myself, Kamran, and everyone who is joining in, we have a wonderful opportunity to get those coaching sessions from Sam. These are our prized possessions. Sam, thank you very much for that. And without further ado, what we've positioned ourselves, your network is your net worth. So I would always want to increase my network. Myself and Sarah, we thrive on our networking, right? Our good friends, Isa De Alawala, who's just joined in as well. Thank you very much.
Hi, Isa.
Everyone around the world, networking is what makes us thrive on getting new roles, getting our jobs done, getting into wonderful new business ventures. So what are the key things in networking, Sam, according to you, that will make us thrive in doing that?
Well, I think, and I'll come on to this in more detail, but it's really about the attitude of openness to the opportunities. What I find is that if I don't have conversations with people, nothing happens. So I think just approaching life with a spirit of openness, also expectation, but also for me, it's about a spirit of giving and a spirit of networking. For me, it's not about what can I get. It's much more about what can I give. And I find the more I give, the more that comes back. Very simple like that.
Excellent. So I think that's a wonderful piece of advice, Sam. What I can offer rather than what I would want. Yeah. Would you want to elaborate on that? I mean, a lot of our younger audiences would want to reach out and directly, like for example, Sarah has just been reached out by a younger candidate, and I just sent her my CV. You know, Sarah, can you please look at this particular role? What would be the most appropriate way to approach a senior exec?
Yeah, I really encourage resisting the temptation to send the CV or the resume on the first hit, because it happens. What you always have to do, I think the most important part of networking, there's so much psychology, whether it's networking for business or networking for job search and career progression, you have to put yourself in the shoes of the person who is receiving your approach. And very often they're very busy people. They're doing things, they're no doubt busy at work, but they may be busy with family as well. You can almost guarantee that there's not a good time for your CV just to land in front of them, because they've always got something else they were doing instead that maybe had a deadline. And so what I strongly suggest is actually trying to build a relationship. And that doesn't mean, huge amounts of time necessarily, but it's little steps. And I'll show you some tips on exactly how this can be done later in the presentation. So it becomes very actionable, which I think is very important from this. But sometimes, yeah, this approach where you just go straight out with, "Hi, I'm Sam, do you have a job for me?" Oh, no. And the best analogy is always like, it's marriage too soon. People like to do a little dating first before they engage in the full marriage and move too fast. So get to know, build a relationship, then you find the appropriate way. It's like selling without understanding the need. It's a disastrous idea. Very, very bad. Always goes badly.
Sam, what we have seen we've got alumni who are based out in North American markets. We have seen a lot of our alumni who are in the European and the Australian markets. A lot of job challenges are there. Businesses are struggling right now. COVID times, how are you seeing the global environment? You've got candidates, you've got customers all across the world. How are you seeing these COVID times, and how should one network in these tough times? Are these the best times to network?
Do you know, the best time to build your network is always yesterday. And so that's another important takeaway for anybody. Don't wait. One of the worst things I see, honestly, is people lose a job, then go, oh, I better build my network. Too late. Because then, you know, you can, of course, but it's far better if it's already in place. And I want to be clear as well about the idea of building a network, because it's not something that is just for me. That's not how this works. It's an ongoing structure, your network. And we'll talk a little bit with some slides later on how this structure really works and how it can actually help you the most. So I think actually it's about an ongoing process. You're absolutely right, of course, Abrar. It's challenging times. There's a lot of people who are maybe being asked to take less money. That's happening. Some people are being furloughed, which is a new word to many of us. We hadn't really known about furloughing until this had all happened. And very often what I'm seeing at the moment, sadly, furlough has become almost a shorthand for you're about to get made redundant as well. That's often happened as well. It's like a step-by-step process. And then we hear about businesses closing their doors. So there's a lot of people therefore flooding into the job market at the moment. And so there's no getting away from the fact that it is tough times. The good news is that I'm seeing people are getting jobs. People are being employed every day. And so it is happening. There is progress. There are ways through this, but it's competitive. And my job with all of my clients, and I consider you now part of my sort of client family, everybody who's watching, my job is to help you be the winners in this competitive, highly competitive search. And what I'm always trying to do is give my clients the insights and the methods to be able to not waste time. Because I always think about job search and career progression strategically. There's no point thinking about, oh, let's focus on our salary negotiation if we haven't got an interview, or we've got a resume or CV that's not landing invitations to interview. We've got to do this sequentially. And so we always start by looking at, you know, all the numbers basically. What are your numbers? How many are you sending out? Do you know where you're headed? I mean, that's one of the biggest things I see in a job search. People start doing a search before they've considered the career direction. And that's the biggest mistake of all, because it's a scattergun approach. It takes a lot of time. It's hugely depressing because you hear, I was working with someone in the last couple of weeks. She has made over 850 applications. That was before she spoke to me. I said, stop, just don't do that, because I can't cope with 850 rejections. That's just so painful. And what's that do to your self-esteem? It's like being trodden on and rejected so many times. So what we're talking about here is we're talking about an approach which is much more focused, knowing what you're going for, speaking to the right people. I call them front door approaches, where we do what they're asking us to do for the application. But I add in a side door approach, which is the networking, which we overlay on top. You have to do what they ask you to do. If they want a resume, send the resume. If they want a LinkedIn Easy Apply, do the Easy Apply. But then network in as well from whichever side you can, because if you don't, someone else is. And they will be the ones that are being flagged and being approached and standing out ahead of you. So there's a lot to this. And you know, it is tough times, but the good news is people are definitely landing jobs at the moment with the right methods.
Wonderful. Sam, we already have our questions pouring in from the audiences. So without further ado, I would invite you to just continue with your presentation, and then we will be stopping you somewhere in the middle to answer a few of the queries. Would that be okay?
Good idea. Can we just take this one question, Abrar, so that we get a bit of idea where to fit this question in later on?
To you, Sarah. I think let's take on the question. Yeah.
Yeah, should I go on?
Gigi, please go on.
Okay, so Isa Jana Lawala has a question. It says, how someone like myself with over 18 years of experience served in management positions look for jobs?
Okay, that's a big question. It's a big question. And let me try and tackle it quickly, because it's obviously very important. There's lots of people in similar situations. The first thing to do is to know where you're going. What would be the right types of job? And one of the most difficult things that it feels like we're instantly narrowing things down, which is very counterintuitive, because it seems normal and natural to say, well, I'd like to keep an open mind so that I keep the playing field wide open. Counterintuitively, what I find works so much better is to narrow it down to just one or two sectors. Very often it's much easier to do more of what you have done in the past. It is, of course, possible. It's another, we could do a whole other webinar on how to change sector and the techniques that we could do. But assuming that we're going to try and do more of the same, we need to then work out what are the fields, and ideally to move quickly. Often a competitive company, perhaps to a previous employer, are very interested to hear from someone with 18 years experience and insight into their competitors and also into the sector. So the right kind of introduction there, it's not about, here's my resume, am I good enough? Certainly not. It's very much a proud approach, a confident approach. And as we were saying before, for our more junior members as well, it's not just the CV or the resume first, it's networking in, especially that senior level. So I think what we're going to cover on today's call will help us go further into that. There are 4, as I see it, really effective job search methods. And I'm going to hold those back and we'll cover them in the Q&A at the end. So we can do networking first, which is part of one of those. So let's jump into that. Did you want to do one of those polls? I think Cameron might have a poll on we've got 2 questions. I first want to just get a feel from the audience on the approach they're taking to networking. Do you think that networking is important for you at the moment is my first poll question there. I'm just trying to get a sense from the audience, wherever you may be, and I appreciate there's people all around the world joining us at the moment. So that question is networking important to you?
Kamran, can we have the poll, please? The first poll.
If it's not ready, I can move on, but we can come back to it. Oh, there we go.
Excellent. So the first poll question, how important do you consider networking to be for your career success? A little bit of how we have arrived to the career success. Sam and the audiences who are all joining in today, we are in conversation with Sam Waterfall, a global coach, CEO and founder of Obvious Candidate. We, as the IoBM alumni, we developed the executive committee, and after our gatherings, understanding that many of our alumni, the younger ones, the senior ones, are going through difficult, challenging times, and networking is definitely an opportunity for us. I conducted a poll and on my LinkedIn, and post of that, networking and advancing your career came out to be the #1 key requirement. So here we are, and our first question is answered. Sarah, would you like to take us through our results? Sorry, you're on mute.
Sorry, you're on mute there.
Okay, so so everybody answered the third option, which is networking is very important to them.
That's
so
a thumbs up for us, Sam.
Like-minded people in the house.
Yeah, very important. And
they're all networkers over here.
My next question, let's just jump in with this one as well, because I think this is going to be equally as important. That's great. Everyone's in the right place. We're doing the right webinar today. My next question is about how do you think you're doing? Are you doing networking well? Do you think you could be doing it better? Or at the moment, is it badly? It's not working well for you at all? Just be honest. We're all friends here, and this isn't school. We all graduated, right? This is relaxed.
I'll submit badly because I don't think so. I'm not networking that enough, right? Sarah, are we networking that enough? We just spoke to like 50 to 100 people yesterday, but we need to network more, right?
Well, there's always learning to do, and I'm hoping that, Sam's going to help us understand the networking in a different way. So looking forward to it.
I can do better. I can definitely do better.
Very good. How's that one looking? What are the answers there?
Let's see. We haven't received the answers yet. Waiting.
So Sam, what we also wanted to have a conversation around was networking to advance your career. How important in a career, and especially in these tough times, is networking?
Yeah, well, I'm going to share my personal story. So, okay, so we've got that result in now. That's looking good. I see that. I personally, by the way, voted in the middle. I said okay, but could be better. Now I've got techniques, but I'm admitting this to you. It's difficult, right? Because we all have priorities. We're busy, and so one thing I want to make a change to differently. I think it's a great thing to think about as you go through this presentation with me today. Think about just one thing. I'm going to share lots of ideas with you, but what one thing could you really act on today to make a difference? And I want to do more conscious networking, and I think that means, for me, it means scheduling time to do it. I do it very frequently. I'm on LinkedIn every day. I'm communicating with people, trying, but I think there's a focus, and I'm going to share with you a very special technique that I call the Dream 30 later on, so you can see exactly how to do that and bring some real focus. I can talk about it, but I promise you it's hard to find time to do it all. So we're all in the busy boat together. So let's, with no further ado, let's jump in and we'll get started. So this is all about networking. So who is this for? Well, I'm going to start off by saying it's for anyone who loves networking and wants to do it better. So I think that's some of you. It's also for anyone who hates networking but knows they should do it. And then it's also for anyone who finds networking is not working. And it's also about anyone who wants to get more results or better results more quickly. So pretty much, I'm going to say this is for anyone in business or wanting to advance their career, which I hope is all of us. So I think that's an important way of beginning. So what's coming up in our next 30 minutes together? I would like to just briefly elaborate. It's not about me today, it's all about you, but I'd like to briefly elaborate on my background so that you can see the context, which I think is important to help you understand what I've done, how I've made this work for me. That'll be a very quick overview. Then the most important rule of networking. Should we do that one or should we skip that? Let's do that one. We'll then move on to how networking transformed my career and how it can transform yours too, what you can do to do that. There's then a theory which is just, it changed my life. I studied this in my master's education, which was at Durham University here in the UK. And this turned out, I can vividly remember, it was module 5 of my master's. And this was the paper, out of all the papers I read in that university experience, that has been the most useful. Really, really important. So I'm going to share that with you and how you can use that daily. LinkedIn is part of that. So I want to talk about why you must optimize that and also share with you some easy to apply changes that allow you, honestly, 10x or more benefits from your LinkedIn profile. I've promised you the Dream 30 already. This is something that I have invented. It's a method, a technique, and a strategy that can really help you move forward. And then there's a digital dance. Now, we're not going to be getting up out of our seats to do this. It's kind of a metaphor, but it's a useful approach and something that can help those of us with networking, even if we're a little shy. And so that's what the last tip is, as I move completely into action and tips at the very end of this. 5 networking approaches that will work for you, even if you're shy or horribly embarrassed at the whole thought of this. I promise you, it's easier than you think, because I'm a colossal introvert. So it's all very uncomfortable for me, but I'll show you how we get through and how we make it work. So I've been a marketer all the way through. I didn't study marketing at university. I did financial and business economics, and then I studied entrepreneurship for my master's. And really enjoyed that. But then, having studied entrepreneurship, I went straight from university into Procter & Gamble, which was a massive corporate job. So I wasn't setting up a business at all. In fact, I wasn't really doing anything that entrepreneurial at that stage. But I heard that starting off in a great company with a great reputation was going to be a very good starting point. And believe me, it was. It was a great school for branding and marketing. I was very fortunate. Anyone who knows P&G, you go straight into a job on day one. And my job, I became the assistant brand manager on Pantene Pro V. This means I know things about leave-in conditioners that you just wouldn't believe. It's been incredibly useful at parties. So it's been a lot of fun. And I got an enormous marketing budget as a very young man. So I got to throw a party, as you see here in this picture, at the Royal Albert Hall in London. And was joined by some supermodels, which was all great fun as far as I was concerned. So I was enjoying my start in the marketing world. After P&G, I went to Boots to go and do some retail marketing. And my intention always was I wanted to get into consulting because I loved the idea of the variety and I wanted to be able to travel the world. That was something that was really appealing to me. But it was about also wanting to have that knowledge to be able to share with clients to make things better. So I thought if I've done consumer marketing for a while at P&G, and I know there was a lot more I could have done, but I wanted to then rush through and get to my retail experience. And I was a buyer there as well, and that was very helpful in terms of building experience. Then I went to Kraft Foods where we did interesting things. I was working on the coffee account and a bit on chocolate. And what I was doing there, the biggest project was putting the first sustainable coffee. That was when the sustainability trend really started here in the UK. We put the first sustainable coffee into McDonald's, and that was a very exciting time. Then we were putting coffees into casinos and onto planes and trains. So that was an interesting job. But that for me was business to business. It was selling coffee into hotels, selling coffee into McDonald's. Very, very different from consumer marketing. And it was kind of the final bit of my jigsaw I felt I needed before I could do the consulting move. And then I moved into consulting. And I'll more on that transition in just a moment, because that's where the networking helped. It was very glamorous in parts. This was what it looks like, as many of you may know or look forward to. This is Emirates First Class, and it's rather glamorous. But I don't want you to think that it was all glamorous, because trust me, there was a lot of hands-on. I was working in the food industry, and I spent far more time on farms or in factories than I did in first class, that's for sure. But there were some nice perks along the way and some wonderful dinners and meeting people around the world. So lots of talks along the way as well. That was me at the Twickenham Rugby Stadium in the UK, addressing the O2 audience there. And then I went entrepreneurial. I went back to my roots and I said, look, I've spent a long time doing consulting and telling other people how to do this. Let's get started. So I met up with some friends, completely networked, by the way, into the right opportunity and the right co-founders for this business. And we launched our probiotics business, which is my main focus today, alongside my coaching. So I tell you all of this because, do you know what? If I'd just been a coach and if I'd just sat in a room cranking out resumes and CVs for people, I would have really lost my mind. They're hard work to write. So if you've ever struggled writing your resume, your CV, I'm with you. It's a tough, tough job. So I've done marketing alongside, but what I realized was while I was with Boots, which is now part of Walgreens internationally, we had a huge headcount redundancy, not like the COVID scale of things, but we had half of our head office, 1,500 people lost their jobs. And at that point, my story here was I was sitting in the right seat at the right time strategically, and I kept my job. But what I did was I said to my colleagues who were having to move on, is there anything I can do? And a few said, could you read my resume? Could you just check it for me? Tell me what you think. And this is where my marketing skills have helped everybody with their career. So what I did was I looked at the CV as it is in the UK. I looked at them and I said, look, I've worked with you for the past 2 years. You're so much better than this. Why don't you say this? And they said, oh, that's very helpful. And I think I must be a slow learner because it took 4 people saying, you should charge for this. And I thought, maybe I should charge for this. So I eventually started charging for this. And so in parallel to everything else, I started Obvious Candidate because my whole passion then has been, let's take the power of all this marketing from P&G, from Boots, Walgreens, from everywhere that I was working, and let's help people market themselves. And part of that, of course, is about this networking. So I just wanted to share that background because I think the marketing that I give to you is absolutely fundamental, but now we're not just marketing things, products, we're marketing ourselves for our career. And what I learned at P&G, where it was so competitive, I learned that if you do not PR yourself in your career, if you don't take action to, should we say, blow your own trumpet appropriately, no one likes to show off, but if you're not pushing yourself and announcing the good stuff you've done, you're losing out. So you have to learn to market yourself as well. No more about me.
I think that's just such an important takeaway, Sam. I think most of my roles, it's always been a challenge to the marketeers. So, I mean, hearing it from a global marketeer, I mean, we're an institute who are known for their marketing footprint across the globe. You are in conversation with two top marketeers from the institute as well. But I think we're all learners and learning on this particular subject of our passion. But it is so important as marketeers to blow your own trumpet and to showcase your skill set, whatever the achievement, in the most appropriate way.
Absolutely.
I think it's a great takeaway, Sam. Please continue.
Sure. So away from me, and what I've really been able to do now is I see myself as the guide now with a plan. And for anyone who's trying to move forward, I'm the guide with the plan, because I've helped so many people now over the years, and it started off so informally. And now I've got a 7-step process that I call the obvious candidate method, but it's helped. This is what you can see on this slide. These are some of the places. Now, there's many smaller. These are big brands, of course. I picked them because they're internationally known. Many people have gone to these kind of places. However, so many have either started up on their own as well. They've done their entrepreneurial ventures, or they've joined, should we say, you know how as you're progressing, as you're going up that career ladder, there are many opportunities with smaller companies, not small necessarily. They can be Inc. 500, they can be real growth companies, but they look for the people who started in these big names. And there is more money to be made, there's higher salaries, there's great rewards, there's share options, the good life by moving. But I haven't listed them all here because many of them are unknown, but they're doing very nicely for their careers in here. So that's what it's all about. And it's about helping people to position them and opening the doors in the appropriate way, which is what this networking is really all about. And back to that question that we had before, Abrar, it's ongoing. Don't wait to network. Do it yesterday. Keep doing it today. And wherever you are today, keep building that network, and also reach back to where you have been and rebuild it if you haven't been doing it yet. So it's really, really important. Now, the most important rule of networking, this for me is so clear. It's about connections, and not just connections, they're people, okay? Your network is not 500 plus on LinkedIn. It's not, oh, I've got 4,000 or I've got 15,000. No, these are individuals. We network with people. And I think as soon as we stop thinking of people as numbers and as connections, they're people. And they have their hopes, their fears, their ambitions. And it doesn't matter how high we are on a ladder. The people, the women, the men at the top, they have fears too, some very big ones. And so talking and reaching out to them, be human, be human. It's not about trying to just automate your way in. I think there's too much automation going off. Now, it can be a smart approach to play a numbers game, but very often people are sick of that and they can see it. Smart people spot automation a mile off. And I think actually this idea of serving your network is so important. And I personally really try to go to town on this. It's one of the things I really believe in. At the end of the year, because I usually am behind my goal by the end of the year in terms of this service idea, I reach out round about our festival. As you know, we have Christmas and we have New Year. And it's a great time to actually reset because there is that kind of pause. And I don't like those banal, just Happy New Year, welcome to 2021 messages. I try and send something that's a bit more useful and a deeper connection. Now, I've got lots of connections because I've been doing what I talk about here, but I think as many times as you can, reach out and get personal about your networking. I saw once, I was part of a networking group in the City of London, and it was called Business Networking International. You may have heard of BNI. Their motto is givers gain. And I just love that. It's stuck with me ever since, and I try to give as much as possible. So that's my mindset. And what that means is, I believe that networking is not about schmoozing. It's not about business card exchanges and awkward conversations, maybe getting pinned in the corner at a drinks event or something. We've all been there. It's actually about living your life with an attitude of seeking to give, helping to serve other people, not connections. And I think that's probably my biggest takeaway. And it can sound underwhelming, but I promise you, if you go into your networking with that attitude, it's transformational, absolutely transformational. I don't know if you've seen this. I put the source down here as unknown or some wise soul on social media because I forget where I found it. Thank you to whoever it was if you're watching. And we tend to think like this. Sometimes we think the ticket is let's write a great resume. But actually the truth is, when it comes to moving forward, the resume is part of it, but only part of it. And actually your network can be the biggest part. And I'm going to show you today exactly how we go ahead with doing that. So quickest story here on how networking transformed my career and how it can do the same for you. So by the time I got to the end of my time with Kraft Foods, I was not happy. Okay, I'd been promised one thing, it wasn't working out, and many of us have been there as well. So if you're at a difficult time in your career, so many of us go there, and I can show you loads of logos and and amazing things about what I've done. The reality is I've had some real ups and downs. So I think we're all the same on that we all go through ups and downs in our career. So I'm going to say things were going badly. Let's leave it at that. And then at that point, now if you've not done this, just wait till you do it. What you do when things are going badly is you go, I'm going to get out of this. So I'm going to be a coach. And if you've not done that, just wait, it will happen. So you'll get yourself onto a coaching course. Now, I'm half joking. Coaching and the course was really great for me. So it was an excellent opportunity. But what I learned on the course was the smallest thing that happened. What happened was we were doing one of those interactive exercises as you do in corporate training. I met up with this guy and guess what? We didn't do the exercise. We just started talking. And the talking was great because he said, so where were you at school? I said, I was at Loughborough. He said, I was at Loughborough. I said, where did you start working? I said, Procter & Gamble. He said, I started working at Procter & Gamble. By this point, we're in each other's laps, you know, and you've done it many times, I know. It's where you've got that connection. You build rapport. And he said, let's go for lunch. So we did the exercise, of course, because we're good students. And then afterwards, we went for lunch and we just talked and talked and talked. But the rapport was there, the trust was there. Take note, we're in an alumni meeting right at the moment. So you've all got trust instantly from everyone on this. You've all been through the same experience. You've sat in the same lecture theatres, all of that camaraderie that comes together. So we were together. He said, I wondered whether it would go any further, but we had a great conversation, very deep, talked about it. And we were open to exploring and helping each other. That's the important thing, the mindset of open. So we had this great connection. And the next thing I know, he said, well, why don't you come and meet me? Come and meet me in London. And I thought, well, this could lead to a next job because I needed some money at this point. And I thought this could be good. So I sat with him and it was breakfast time. And he said, after about 10 minutes, he went, I need to phone someone about you. And he got his phone out and he said, Simon, I'm sitting here with this young man. You need to speak to him immediately. And so the next thing I knew, literally the next morning, I was in an interview in central London, which had been set up by this recommendation network, okay? Pure network. I interviewed, and anyway, I loved it. This was for a job I didn't even know existed. I was going to be a brand strategist within a design agency, a very cool agency in central London. And I didn't even know this job existed, but when I heard about what it was amazing. It was perfect for me. It was all the bits of marketing I loved without all the bits I didn't love. So I just wanted it. Anyway, I interviewed my heart out. And at the end, he said, I don't think you've got enough experience for this, but we have got a team in Amsterdam. So guess what? 2 days later, I'm in Amsterdam. And I'm thinking this is the best thing ever because I'd never traveled for business at this point. And that someone's paying for me to go to Amsterdam. So I spent the whole of the 2 days making a presentation on Heinz tomato soup because they sent me this challenge as a brand strategist. How would you reinvent a classic? And they said, and I'm very proud of this, they said it was the best presentation they've ever had on that reinvention. And then they told me, and they're not really allowed to say this, but afterwards they told me, Sam, not enough grey hair for you to stand in front of a board. We love the presentation, but we can't put you in front of these people yet because you've not got enough experience. And I'm distraught by this point. But they said, we have got a team in Sweden. So guess what? The next couple of days later, I'm in Stockholm having an interview. And the next thing I got a job offer. And so literally this whole process from the coaching course to all of these international interviews, 2 weeks is all it took. And suddenly I was in this startup consultancy with an international remit doing everything I wanted. And it all happened because of that coaching course and being open to talking to somebody. And one thing led to another. Now you have to be good along the way and do well at the interviews, but I put my heart into it at that point. So I just wanted to share that story because that wouldn't have happened without networking. It was purely a networking result. So let me...
Such a wonderful story, Sam. Wow, I think you answered Isa's question wonderfully well. And I think you brought a great smile on mine and Sarah's face on, sharing this success story. I think it's really brought the context out in terms of how those hidden roles and jobs can just be, taken up. And I think that really brings those smiles. Thanks a lot, Sam, for that. And Isa is giving you a thumbs up.
I share it not to tell my story, but hopefully to give some inspiration, because it really can be done. And it's all about starting with that openness. And you have to tell people. So what happened in that first conversation was explaining, the gentleman's name was Randall. I remember it well. I have since sent him a couple of bottles of champagne because he changed my life through that very kind social meeting.
All right,
always look after your network. When things have gone well, always say thank you to the network.
Serve the network as well. Yeah.
So let me then unpick this. So how can we make this work for you? So this is this much promised Stanford University networking theory that I've been talking about. So there is a professor, Professor Mark Granovetter, and he wrote this paper called The Strength of Weak Ties, a sociological paper, which was a landmark paper. He was nominated for a Nobel Prize for economics for within social sciences, it was, for this piece of work. It's a long time ago, but I promise you, this is absolutely as relevant as ever. So this is what I was introduced to in my master's degree that just hit me like a train when I got this. His message basically is increase your number of acquaintances. If you can see this picture here, this network, I want you to imagine your network. You are in the middle of your network. It's your network, okay? So we all have this. You're bang in the middle. And that group right around you are what we call strong ties. And these are the people who are nearest and dearest to you. We'll call them friends, but we'll also call them close family. But you know your close friends and family. You know the ones you know really well, you love them. They're the ones, if you don't text them every couple of hours, they're like, what's wrong? You need to be in close contact all the time. And the trouble is, they see the world quite a lot like the way you see the world. They may support the same teams. They may share the same political beliefs. They agree with what you agree with. Whereas your wider network, all the way out there, the weak ties, let's call them your acquaintances, guess what? They might be all over the world, of course, literally all over the world. Some of them are former colleagues. Some of them are former students that you used to study with. Some of them may be people you met on holiday. Some of them you've bumped into on coaching courses or whatever it might be. But they're out there, and these people have got their own vantage points on the world, which is different from yours. And what that means is, if you stay in closer touch with your weak ties, and hence his paper is called The Strength of Weak Ties, what he's saying is, it's so easy for us not to network. It's so easy for us not to connect and keep in touch with all of those people who are out there in our wide network. But if you do, that is what he said was, Granovetter said, your weak ties are your best source of new opportunities, new jobs, new leads, new ideas. Now, if I stop the webinar here, I believe you could change your career with just that. Because you could just go out there now and just work on strengthening those relationships. All the people that you've been letting go of, I know how this goes. Once it's been 2 years or 3 years, oh, I'm not sure if I should get back in touch with that person. It feels a bit awkward. I'll just leave it. I won't bother. Do bother. Get in touch with them. Reach out. And I'm going to show you how to do it, because those people are the ones who can see opportunities for you. And if you don't tell them what you're wanting to do, how can they help you? You know, when you go to a wedding or a big family celebration, and it's fun to matchmake, right? Find new relationships, put people together. In just the same way, it's tremendously exciting for people to help other people, you, with your career. Wouldn't you love, I know you would, wouldn't you love to be the person who connects someone to their next amazing job opportunity? Of course you would, because they'll remember that forever. And they love to do it. They're waiting to do it for you. but they don't know you're looking. So if you, and I don't mean a broadcast out there just to everyone saying, I'm looking. That's not how we do this. It's individual. We'll come on to exactly how. So of course, LinkedIn these days, it used to be, you know, when we used to have business cards and we used to go to conferences, you'd come back with a stack of business cards and they'd sit on your desk until it had been there too long and nothing happened. And then they all changed jobs and then it became useless. Thank goodness for LinkedIn, because it now keeps everything so much easier for us all, because we all update our own. So you can meet new people, you can connect with them, you can keep in the minds of them, but you can also serve your weak ties through LinkedIn. So what a brilliant tool it is. So let's talk about quickly how we can set that up for success. LinkedIn is so important because, as someone's once said, if you're not LinkedIn, you're left out. You need to be in this loop. It's the world's biggest database of talent. It's got over 675 million people out there. So it's an amazing source and we need to be a part of it. Now, why is it important? I did a search. This was this morning. I searched on my name. If you haven't searched on your name recently, do it on Google, because in 2020, we are what Google says we are. I'll say that again. We are what Google says we are, because when someone looks for us, if Google doesn't say what we are, who are we? And so you can see I spent some time optimizing. My name appears a lot on a search for my name. I'm not the only person with my name. I've had to spend time optimizing. But what that means is, guess what's at the very top of the Google search? LinkedIn. So, and who chooses what's in my LinkedIn profile? Me. So it's my opportunity to tell the world on Google what I want to say. So LinkedIn is so important because it's your best chance to control what the world thinks about you. Don't miss that opportunity. So everyone's going to look for you on there. When they get your CV or resume, they're going to look for you on Google, and Google loves LinkedIn. So that's why this is so important. Now, here's the strategy. You have to write for the machine, the algorithm, and for the human. If you forget the algorithm step, you're so far down the ranking results on page, like being on page 4 of Google, right? No one's ever been there. Does anyone know what that page 4 of Google looks like? Of course not. So you have to be, same on LinkedIn, at the top. We need to optimize so that you are the person of choice. Very, very important. This comes down then to maximizing the second strategy, your golden trio, as I call it. Your trio is your profile photograph, your name, and your professional headline. This trio follows you round LinkedIn. So wherever you appear on LinkedIn, people see this. So if they're on your profile, of course, they see the whole profile. Everywhere else, they just get this little snapshot of you. Guess what? You need to optimize it so much. So make sure that your name is simple and personal. It doesn't need lots of additional letters and complications, which is actually against the terms and conditions of LinkedIn. We do not want your profile being shut down. What we really want to do is make sure that your photo is well optimized. And these were a couple of mine. Don't use ones like this. This was me thinking I was Top Gun, which I wasn't, and me at a nightclub, which is best not even thought about. And neither of those are a professional look for LinkedIn, okay? So and I see this horrible, horrible pictures all the time. This is your first impression with the world. Don't do this, okay? I'm sharing this just to humiliate myself, you know. Just because I'm showing you that I've been there, and if you're still doing anything like this, don't do it. So having the right picture presents the first impression of you. I promise you, you could add $10,000 or more to your salary with the right choice of picture, because it's your first impression. Now, there is a wonderful website. If you've not been there, go to this one. It's called photofeeler.com. It's a very weird name. It is a safe site to go to, I promise you. And here are the results from my test. Now, also, before I do it, this will cost you not a penny, because you can go there and earn credits by voting on other people. That's really helpful. It helps them. But what you'll also do, even better, is you'll learn very quickly pictures like this that look horrible. You'll say, I'm not going to do one like that, Sam. And you'll learn quickly what's a good and a bad picture. So here are some of my results. You can see I got a little bit more professional, and this was from PhotoFeeler. It's brilliant. It gives you, and look, I'm bearing my soul here. These are my results. You did have some worse results as well. I'm not showing you those, but I'm also showing you the difference of how this works. look what happens when I add the logos. Can you see where I've been featured? ABC, Fox. That helps with competent and influential. But so does this thing, the microphone. But look what that does. And can you see there's no eye contact, there's no smile. I look pretty miserable, but I look like I know what I'm doing. So the perception is, of all the people, not very likable, 5.4. You know, my heart's bleeding at this point, but I'm actually on LinkedIn to be competent and influential. So I used that picture for quite a long time. Then I moved, and for a long time I had the one on the right. I'm now doing something which is a bit more like I am now, which is a bit more relaxed, because my current positioning is approachable coach. So I'm not trying to power dress my way into a senior executive role, but work out what you should look like and make sure you look like it, because that's the way to win at this game. And I promise you, this is so revealing. I recommend testing 3 pictures at least and choosing your best. Don't pick the one that you think looks good. Pick the one that, we're all marketers, right? Well, okay, 3 of us here are marketers. I know the rest of you, many of you are as well. This makes such a big difference.
After our conversation, Sam, I also went in the same platform.
Yes.
Terrible results, but yeah. That was my first time.
Yeah, the first time
everyone who's joining in,
horrible.
I mean, it's an opportunity for us to learn about ourselves, but such a wonderful insight on, and as a marketer,
So
we must test our products and services.
Exactly,
Sam?
because otherwise we don't have data. We love data, right? As marketers, we want data to make the best decision. We wouldn't do this for a marketing campaign without data. Now we've got data for our own personal marketing campaigns. So that's why. And these kind of pictures are a disaster, okay, for LinkedIn. I see them. Me age 2, me doing sport. We all know we can do sport, right? But this is LinkedIn. I'm not being hired because I went, climbing on an indoor wall. Me drinking? No, not as a first impression. Everyone loves a team building event, but no, not appropriate. And of course, I don't know if you've ever done any online dating. No one dates the anonymous avatar, okay? So, and it's the same. No one gives a job to the anonymous person. They think, what are you trying to hide? So if you've not got a picture there, get a good one in. So, and here's the big ranking tip that's missed by almost everybody on LinkedIn. Whenever you upload media, and I strongly recommend you upload lots of, by media, I mean a picture, an image. It could be a video, it could be a link. But whenever you do, LinkedIn lets you name that picture. Now, most people, if you can see my mouse here, they save this because they think, oh, it's for LinkedIn. I'll just call it linkedin.jpg or LinkedIn 1 or LinkedIn 2. Guess what? That's what everybody does. 675 million people saying the same thing. How does that help your standout for SEO? Not at all. So that's not what you do now. What you do now, every time you upload your profile picture or your background picture or any other media, it has your name. And this is especially important if you have a name which is shared by many other people. And I know a lot of people who suffer from that. I'm somewhat fortunate that Sam Waterfall is a little rare. It makes it easier to optimize. But I've optimized it so hard to make sure that, because there are others and they're trying to beat me. So how do you get ahead? So this is one of the techniques. So you can also, when you upload anything, there's a headline, keyword, keyword, keyword in the headline. And also then there's a description. And loads of people leave these empty. Massive missed opportunity because you can put more keywords in. What are the skills that they're going to be searching for? And you can load your profile. That's how the algorithm, otherwise your profile, my profile, and the 675 million other profiles are the same. It can only tell the difference because of the differences in what we give the database, right? So this is how you stand out. This is how you optimize. So you can add them in the featured section of your LinkedIn, in every job experience, in your education experiences as well. Huge opportunity there to maximize and optimize for your name. A ninja secret now. So now I'm getting really serious, okay? This is where you can actually go into your naming optimization and do it even further. If you click on the contact info where that first yellow arrow is here, click on the edit, and then what you'll be able to do is add these websites, okay? Now what you'll see I've done here, I've only done it once for me because my name's already optimized, but I wanted my name next to the words marketing expert. So what you do is when you say to LinkedIn's contact info, I want to add a website, it lets you add a website. But what you do here, most people just call it personal website or company. But if you go to other, which is the drop down that you wouldn't pick, right, normally from this, because you'd pick company website or something like that. What it does is it gives you a free form field right here. This opens up with text opportunity for you to put anything in you want, and the algorithm sees it. So you can optimize for your name and your keywords. If you're a company director, your name plus company director, something like that. Your name plus marketing director, your name plus CEO, whatever your role is. And guess what? You can do this 3 times. And almost no one goes into this section, but the algorithm sees it behind the scenes. That's why it's a ninja tip, okay? Next one, have you claimed your personal URL? So here, this simple look, okay? Because of course, when I first got my profile, it looked like this, very messy, not looking professional. So here you go, edit public URL, go there, claim it. Guess what? If you're called something which is very common, you've got your name shared with lots of other people, you're going to need to add something else. But don't just call yourself Sam Waterfall 23, because it just says, hi, I'm really late to the party. Everyone else was here before me. So what you want to do, or you can say, I was born in 77, so Sam Waterfall 77. Oh, okay, he's 43, is he? Okay, you just don't need to say that. Far better, call yourself a marketing professional. Choose something which is going to build your personal brand. Really, really important. Third one, the algorithm looks so intently at your headline. And so the thing about your headline to look at here is, normally it only gives you 120 characters. And the algorithm loves this field. If you update it from your iPhone, I don't know if it works from Android, but it gives you more apps. It gives you more characters to be able to use. I'm going to speed through this now. So we're getting into now. Does that all make sense? I just wanted to give you some really easy to apply tips for LinkedIn. Now let me get on to how to do this networking. Is that okay? Hey, bro, how are we doing?
I am noting down all these, but a little bit of question which came to my mind. Sam, we had planned a LinkedIn special with the alumni.
Yes.
So is that also happening, or were these the top tips on LinkedIn?
No, there's lots more for LinkedIn. So that was just about how to make sure you're networking and
these are just the appetizers for the alumni, right?
Yeah, lots more to come in on that one. So yes. So now let me talk about the Dream 30. The Dream 30 are, by definition, the 30 people in the world who are best placed to help you. I just want to let that one sink in. The 30 people in the world who are best placed to help you. And that could be best placed to help you get your next job, or best placed to help you get a promotion. What is it that you want? What's the next step for your career? And when you think about it, some of those people will be your immediate colleagues. Some of them may be former colleagues. Some of them may be HR leaders. Some of them may be independent recruiters. Some of them may be other people out there in the world. I don't know who it would be for you, and depending on what you're wanting. But the definition of the Dream 30 is these are the 30 people in the world best placed to help you. Now, here are my questions for you. How many of them do you know? So if you were to make a list of these 30 people, how many of them do you really know that you could have a conversation with? How many of them know you? Not just that you know them. How many of them have you helped? Have you done something for? Have you started building that relationship with? And how many of them know what you want so that they can help you get it? Can you see? I hope this is like just switching on some bulbs here, because guess what? If this, by definition, the 30 people in the world who could best help you, if say none of them, which is possible, know what you want because you just kept it to yourself and it's just my secret goal, how do you think they can help you? They can't help you, right? So what are you waiting for? That's my call to arms for you. This is me urging you. Work out who they are. So how do we do this? I have developed something that I call the Dream 30 Tracker. If you want that, email me at the end and I will give you a copy of the Dream 30 Tracker. This is how to make it work for you. Now, 30 conversations, you know you're already busy with the conversations you're already having. Imagine adding another 30. Now, this is why it's 30, not the dream 50, because imagine having 50 conversations. It takes even longer. So arbitrarily, it's 30 because it's just about manageable. It's ambitious, but it's manageable. Let's take it as 10, 10, 10. 10 people from within your personal network, maybe former bosses, maybe former colleagues, maybe people that you used to work with, maybe people you used to study with, from your alumni connections. 10 recruitment professionals from the sector that you're going to. You know how recruitment professionals, of course, there's Michael Page and so on who are everywhere. They do all the sectors. They have their different focuses. But many recruiters are very specialist into just certain fields. Who are the top 10 who could help you move into your next position? Do you know them? Do they know you? Do they know what you're currently looking for? Have you had a conversation with them? Because if you haven't, I guarantee they're not coming to knock on your door because they didn't know you were there. You know, this is what's really important. There's a few, if you're in a very senior role, you'll be on their radar, of course. But what this really comes down to is making sure that you are speaking to the right people. And then the really interesting one is what I call sector celebrities or wildcards. Now, these are usually the hardest ones to get to because we don't know them yet necessarily. Maybe you know of them. What I mean by this is these are people who are highly influential within your sector. They could be entrepreneurs who are company owners. They could be people who organize the trade shows, the big exhibitions, that kind of thing. They could be bloggers within your sector. They could be the editor of a journal, something like that. These people, guess what? Their network is incredible. When they organize events, like who's in charge of your network here? They know so many people. So you need to get in touch with these people, and you don't need to say, have you got a job for me? Because it's not getting a job from them. It's about asking advice and being able to build a relationship so that they can connect you with the right person from their big network. So that's what this is about. Now the tracker, if you can imagine 30 people with their contact details listed down the page in your Excel, some of them you know well, and you can do one contact, you can send them a message, and your objective is to get a face-to-face meeting. Now I know with COVID, this is difficult times, but Zoom's great, right? We can do this, we're all used to it these days. So what your objective there is, text message, quick call, set up a time for a proper meeting where you can talk about your career objective with this valuable person from your network. We don't know who their sister-in-law is, who their brother is, what their dad does, what their network can be, what their friend from university just set up. And if we prejudge that, we've got no idea. But if we tell them as a trusted connection, guess what? A weak tie, thank you, Professor Granavetta. If we tell them what we're looking for, they can say, oh, I must connect you. And that's how it works. So, because when you speak to them, it's not just about me, I'm wanting this. Half the conversation or more is you saying, how can I help you, dear friend who I haven't spoken to for all this time? Or dear recruiter. No one tries to help recruiters. They're always trying to get some help. If you help a recruiter, build some rapport, get them on your side, because these are the ones who are going to really help you. I know we don't have lots of time for doing this, but these are the critical relationships we've already identified. These are the 30 people in the world best suited to help us or best able to help us. So what we're trying to do, whether it takes just one call to get a friend on, for some of these sector celebrities, we might have to warm them up over a period of weeks or months. We might have to visit their blog, like what they're doing, contact them, try to get a meeting with them. It's not necessarily easy, but what we're doing there is we know that they're influential. And what we're not doing is going straight in and going, can you help me get a job? Or here's my resume, here's my CV. What we're doing, we're actually becoming part of their network. We're helping them achieve their objectives. Then reciprocity, the law of reciprocity kicks in. They want to help us because we've been a useful person to them. Then, yeah, let me share your, do you have a CV? Let me connect you with this person. Oh, that's when the magic happens, because you didn't rush in, you helped them first. Give us gain, right? Just exactly as we've been saying. So, and guess what? Out of 30, let me tell you a couple of stories very, very quickly. Last year, April it was, one of my connections, she was one of my clients, she was doing the full 7 steps of the obvious candidate process. This is step 5, by the way. We were working through this together. She got to number 2. Number 2 was a former boss of hers. And she spoke to this former boss. He said, oh, I'm so pleased you called because I was just looking for a new CMO. Let me put you in touch with our CEO because we need to hire you. The salary more than doubled. And it was the second person she spoke to on her list. So now it doesn't always happen. But what I'm telling you is out of 30, it always happens. Always happens. I've never known it not happen. But I can't tell you if it's number 2, like she was very lucky, or number 28, by which time you're thinking, Sam, this doesn't work. But let me tell you, it does work because even if this goes wrong, it's gone right because every one of these conversations, you've helped one of the 30 people most able to help you. Guess what you've done to the relationship? You strengthened it. So you can't go wrong with this method. It always helps. And guess what happens? 20 of them will say, oh, do you know what, Abram? Do you know what, Sarah? I'd love to help you, but I just don't know of anything at the moment. 5 of them will say, oh, that's amazing that you just said that because this person and this person, they need that right now. Let me put you in touch. And 5 of them will go, do you know what? Oh, I'd love to help you, but I just don't know anything about it. And then within the next 4 weeks, I promise you, they will call you back and go, you're not going to believe this, but John's hiring, he needs you. Can I put you in touch? And you're like, yes, but you're not thinking, oh, that was lucky because you set it up. What you're doing here with the Dream 30 is you are engineering career coincidence because you're telling the 30 people best able to help you how to help you, how they can, and you're maneuvering it in, you're setting up reciprocity. Everything here makes your network take off. So even when it doesn't work, it works.
I have a question. The Dream 30, should it be part of my inner circle or they can be part of the outer circle as well?
Most likely the outer, because as we've said, from the theory, it's your weak ties. Now, it could be close people as well, but you know, and again, we're all friends together here. Hopefully our current bosses, if we have current bosses, aren't listening, because this is, you know, we may want to move. Now, current bosses, of course, you may have a great relationship and they can be the perfect person. And I recommend building that relationship, but it's not always the case. Sometimes we need to be more discreet. So the immediate network and these personal connections may need to be further out. But it's the people who are further out, somewhat further out, as in they're not your day-to-day connections. They don't need to be miles away. They could also be very close within your industry. They're just not your best friends. That's your weak ties.
Excellent. Sarah, I'm really enjoying the conversation. And with Sam, I think I am down with the number 15 on my list. How's your list coming along?
My list is increasing too, but we're a bit short on time. And
Sure.
if we could just manage that a bit.
Yeah, we're nearly done. We're nearly done.
Yeah.
So we're
10
on
to
to
15 minutes maybe. Sure.
Yeah, we're into the last section,
But
less than that.
Sam, we have a lot of
excellent-
questions also waiting for you.
Tips as well. I'm
Sure.
loving
So
it.
let me tell you about the digital dance because this is really important. Now, I picked this picture because I went to an all boys school and when it was time for discos, it was a horribly awkward time. And so it was very difficult. When it was time for boy meets girl in my life, this was a very embarrassing time. And so we used to have to say, well, my friend likes your friend and all of this kind of stuff, you know. So, but now it's a little bit like this on LinkedIn. So what I wanted to show you here was this idea of a digital dance. And it's about keeping track of your stats with what's happening. And the digital dance, as I call it, is whatever it could be on LinkedIn. You know, we have a very important, it's about, sorry, let me back up. These stats are very important. So this is just from my profile today. I just sort of pulled these off. This who's viewed is incredibly important. Now, if you're in a job search or you're serious about your networking, which I strongly advise, go into LinkedIn and upgrade to what they call, now I'm not on a commission, I wish I was, but I'm not, but premium is where you pay monthly for this. What it allows you to do, the most important thing it gives you is the ability to see who viewed your profile. Now, the digital dance is what I'm suggesting. If you want to meet someone from your Dream 30, but maybe they're a wild card or you don't know them yet, or maybe they're just someone from your network that you've not spoken to for 4 or 5 years, guess what? The easiest thing in the world to go and do, go to their profile. Almost everyone is looking at this, who's viewed your profile every day. And so if you viewed them and they viewed you, it's a bit like boy meets girl, right? This digital dance. It's the perfect opportunity to ask the next question. Would you like to dance? Would you like to, you know, how do we move this on? And that's exactly what we're trying to do. Now, there's lots of different ways we can do it. And I've said it here, dance could mean view, notify, which means show up in the notifications. And more on that in just a second. Then contact them, then connect if you don't know them, then ask the question. But don't ask them for a job, ask them something interesting about them. And not something that makes them think you want something, but something that they're actually interested in. So this guy looks like he'd do quite well, right? In the digital dance. I liked him. I figured he'd help us and sort of break through. So here are 5 approaches that work. Now, I want you to consider the psychology of the digital dance. Think about when you get onto your phone or when you get onto LinkedIn. The thing you do is you check, if there's a red circle there for the message, you check the messages because it's personal to you. If then there's a red on the notifications, you look at the notifications, then you check the feed. So guess what? We want to be in those notifications. So our soft approach for our digital dance means that our golden trio, and this is, Abrar, why I was showing you the LinkedIn tips, because I want you to be able to use these things. So it was just a sneak preview on LinkedIn. This is all about getting your golden trio seen by your network. Because what it does is it builds some level of understanding. You know, when we've seen somebody, you know, the famous marketing knowledge that we need to see something 7 or 8 times before we take action. That's what we're trying to do here. We're applying marketing to networking. So our golden trio wants to optimize that amazing photograph that we're using, and our headline with the extra text in there is showing up in the feed of people that we want to see it, our Dream 30. And we want to appear repeatedly in their notifications so we build familiarity. So here are the icebreakers. Now these are so simple. You're going to say, come on, Sam, you know, visit their LinkedIn profile. That's it. You're going to appear in the who's viewed statistics for that person. So easy, do it. Really important. Next one, endorse them on LinkedIn. Now, endorsements get such a tough time on LinkedIn. People think, oh, well, hang on, I just got endorsed by someone I barely know for a skill I barely have. What's the point? Actually, don't use it like that. Use it to reach out to someone who used to be on your team, a good colleague from 5 years ago that you've not spoken to, a weak tie, thank you, Professor Granavetta, and say to them, you just go, you don't say anything, you just go to their profile, endorse them for 10 skills that you know they have. Watch what happens. What do you think is going to happen? They're going to come back and endorse you for 5 or 10 skills. So your numbers are going to go, guess what? That's a ranking signal for the algorithm at LinkedIn. When you're getting more endorsements for the keywords that you need to be found for. So you're not going to get a job. You know, don't let me try and kid you here. Don't think because you've got 99 plus on marketing strategy, the job's coming your way. It's not. But it's just a great tool for getting back in touch because you get into their notifications. It says, Sam's just endorsed you for 10 skills. Oh, thanks, Sam. Suddenly, Sam's associated with the endorphins in the brain. How is Sam these days, I wonder? And if they come and have a look only, then the digital dance starts. Okay, so that's how we work on it. If you like that one, try writing an unsolicited recommendation on LinkedIn. Just do it. It'll take you a little bit longer. It takes no time at all to endorse some people for a few skills. But this is how you serve your network on LinkedIn. Very, very easy to do. When you're waiting for a train or a plane or whenever we travel again, waiting for, I don't know, a kettle to boil or whatever, just go in and do something with this time. Do 10 a day for your network and see what happens. And for the recommendation, just try 1 a week. Just reach out to someone, write them some, even if it's like an intern. Guess what? The interns that are your interns now, in 10 years, they'll be hiring you and you'll be really pleased because they're going to remember the recommendation you wrote them forever. Because when a senior person writes them a recommendation, because they did something really good, I don't mean just for no reason, but if someone does something great, recognize it. They will remember that forever, and the network just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And it doesn't have to be an intern. Everyone recognizes this when it's done in an unsolicited way. Send an "I saw this and thought of you" email. I don't know if you've ever heard of Liverpool Football Club. It's a little thing we have here in the UK. Some people like it. Not my favorite. But they just won the league, right? So, you know, they are so happy right now. They've won the championship. So guess what you can do? Reach out to anybody whose sports team has just won anything and just tell them, congratulations. I saw this and thought of you, or you must be pretty happy. It's been 20 years since this happened, whatever it might be. It's a connection point. If you know that person loved that team from when you were working together before, use that, reach out, and just build it. It's the start of the digital dance. And the fifth one here, ask an intelligent question in response to something that they have shared, created, or posted. If you have ever, and I know you have, posted on LinkedIn or social media, and it kind of just goes crickets, you know, it's like there's nothing. It's like, where's all the likes, people? You know, where's all the love and the comments? If someone asks you a sensible question about something you posted, endorphins, notification, person interacting, very exciting. And so what we do is start the digital dance, and it's the start of a conversation, and it's the way to get involved. So when you respond in that way to somebody else, it's the same. Is it okay if I over deliver? Can I give you 6 points instead of 5?
Yeah, we're good with 6.
I'll stop at 6. Prepare something useful and personal. Now, this is if you're doing this at a really senior level, because you can do all of these. They all work at every level because we're all human. But if you're speaking and you need to get onto the attention of someone who's very senior, then it's not enough. What you need to do, I recommend, you know, maybe it's we did this for one of my clients, a retail leader. He wanted to get to become the marketing director for one of the UK's biggest clothing companies, fashion house. He went into when you could still go into the shops, he went into some of the stores in London and used his expertise to work out what could I change, what would make this better. Then he wrote to the CEO at the time and said, I've built a presentation based on being in 6 of your stores here, 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 and here. 5 things that in my experience as a leading fashion marketing director, I think would make your businesses more profitable. Could I get coffee with you? Could I buy you coffee and talk you through them? What do you think they said? Yes. Not all of them. We did it for 10. And at least 3 of them said yes. So it's not perfect. I'm not promising you perfection. But if you find the right thing for the right person, you find the ticket in and the digital dance begins. That's how you move in towards getting the career step. So we've looked at important rules of networking, which is all about giving, right? I've shown you giving. It's being nice to people and being there for people. We talked about the strength of weak ties to improve your networking and working out how you can get in touch with acquaintances and how they're so important. I've told you how networking can transform your career fast if you start going out with a sense of expectation. Why you've got to get your LinkedIn optimized. No bad photos, please. 10 ways that you can get 10 times more from your LinkedIn, and it's at least that much just by doing what we're telling. I've introduced to you the golden ticket, which is the Dream 30. Because if you're not speaking to those people right now, why not? You've got to speak to those people. They're the ones who can help you. You know the definition. And then I've introduced you to the digital dance, which helps you to approach in a way that even an awkward boy who went to a boys-only school feels comfortable with. It's been an absolute pleasure talking you through the obvious candidate approach to networking, and it'll be a pleasure to try to answer any questions. So I hope that's helpful for you. I hope it's been interesting and useful.
It's been extremely useful, even for us over here in Karachi. I think globally what we've seen, Sarah is really excited on the Dream 30. Sarah, I think we can have a competition on the Dream 30. But
why not?
I've loved the way you phrase them as a marketeer. I think it really comes out in terms of the conversation, in terms of attracting the alumni. I think we're all excited in terms of the questions. And for all of you, we are in conversation. We've just had a great part 1. of the series that we are bringing in with the founder of his candidate, Sam Waterfall. Sam, it was an extremely exciting session, and we now move towards the questions. So, Sarah, if you can kindly lead on the questions, please.
Sure, but before we start, we're going to try to keep it a little bit brief and short so that it's easier for us to cover each and every individual. Our first question is from Mohammed Khalid. He says, how can I enhance my circle having 12 years of experience?
So how can I enhance myself, is that?
My circle, my interactions, my contacts.
So the first thing I recommend is reach out. So reach out to where you are at the moment. And like we said at the very beginning, start today building your network more seriously. And LinkedIn's great, as we've said, because it allows you to collect. And as you know, I'm not a fan of connections, but they are connections, but they're connections because they're people. And it's the way to stay in touch with people very easily, even if they move. So start with where you are at the moment, but be a little discreet with how you do that. Because if you start connecting with everyone around your office all in 1 week, and they start saying, well, did you get an invitation from Sam? Did you get an invitation from Sam? They're going to get 14 changes to his LinkedIn profile. Sam's on the move. So be a little bit discreet about how you do it. But over time, collect everybody, because there's barely ever a situation where someone is a bad connection. And if they are, we've usually prejudged the person. Like I said, we don't know who their brother is, who their sister is, who their brother-in-law is. All of those things we just don't know. So don't judge people on how they can help. What's more important is find out how you can help them and have a conversation. They'll love it as well, because most people, when you introduce this idea to them, they'll go, oh, wow, this is really great. So you'll have a really good conversation. They'll enjoy it. They'll think you're brilliant because you shared it, and they'll be ready to help you. So then start reaching back and think back. So with 12 years experience, you might have several jobs, several departments. So work back sort of systematically and think, well, who are you not connected with yet? And one of the best things you can do on LinkedIn, I sometimes meet with people who think, well, I'm just going to keep it really tight, the 150 people that know me best. And that's strong ties, not weak ties. And I've got, numbers not important, I've got over 10,000 connections on LinkedIn because I'm so open to seeing new things. And when I look at my feed, I never see the bottom of it because but I love the inspiration that comes in from different areas that help inform me about different things. It's not all people that I know for sure. I really don't know them. But also then when I share something, it goes out far and wide. I just find it really exciting, really energizing. So I would say keep adding to your system. And the other thing is, if you're looking at a job move, which is a geographic move, let's say your network is all in Karachi. I was doing this with someone whose network was all in London, and she was moving to Singapore. Well, guess what the algorithm's doing for her in Singapore? Very little. So as soon as she gets there, she needs to be building her Singapore network, obviously changing her location as well, but she needs to be doing things connecting locally in Southeast Asia so that the algorithm refocuses as to where the connections are going to be, where she's showing up. Otherwise, all her news will be showing to people in London. So you've got to think about how this works. So yes, it's sensible to focus on your broad sector, but keep building that network is really, really important. And then service the network. So assuming that our 12-year veteran career person has got a network already, post every week, post something, share something useful, and share something that's on your personal brand. So for me as a career coach or a marketer, if I share, I'm not sharing football, not on LinkedIn. I'm sharing something about careers. I'm sharing something about marketing. And that way, when someone looks at my trio, my golden trio, I'm building my personal brand every single time.
Sarah and Sam, might be a good time to ask for a couple of volunteers. We have, as a special case, a couple of invites to join Sam for a personal one-on-one coaching session. So all those who are interested, please send in your contact details, raise your hand, make some noise, send up a few questions, tell us your story, why we should put you one-on-one with Sam. Now, these are extremely useful one-on-one sessions. and we recommend. So Sam is offering. Sam, how many are we offering for this particular session?
I'll try 5 to begin with.
All
so
right.
We can do those on a first come, first served.
First come, first served basis. All those who got, so we will pick up in terms of geography, in terms of the most in need ones. But again, this is for all those who are interested to have one-on-one coaching experience, an opportunity to have one-on-one session with Sam. You can take them through your profile, your networking challenges, or any other opportunity. So all those who are listening.
As you know, Abrar, I've been doing this recently with people all around the world, and it's been amazing. So most people are so surprised because I'm doing this offer. I'm doing it for you because, of course, well, you're the business school alumni. So, you know, this is a special offer that, but beyond that, I've been doing it as well because of COVID-19 and because people are in a lot of trouble. And people have been so surprised because I give you everything I can in this session. I don't hold anything back because it's a free session. My job is to help you get ahead and to really make it work. So we can tackle your resume, we can tackle your networking strategy, we can tackle your LinkedIn profile, whatever it might be that you want to do. Obviously, we've been talking about networking today, but different people are in different places. So whatever's most helpful.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you very much. I think we've just got the last couple of questions here.
Yes, we do. We have, there are 2 questions. I feel that the presentation was good enough, but let's see what they have to ask. Umair Harun's asking, how can an undergraduate student start building their network even before graduating so they land on a good job even before they graduate?
Okay, yeah, great question. Great question. Sometimes people say, but I'm a student still. How does this work for me? It's no different. So it's absolutely the same. So the advantage you've got is you're still with all of your fellow students. So definitely get connecting with them because we just don't know. I didn't know this. When I did my undergraduate, no one told me this. And I had no idea. So there was people in my lectures, I don't know, there was hundreds of people, I guess, in some of my lectures, who no doubt have gone on and done amazing things, who I wish now were in my network. And I didn't connect with them. It's gone, and the opportunity is gone. And I really didn't know them well enough. And I would just, you know how when you're at university, somehow, well, these people, I'm a first year, they're a second year, they won't talk to me. They will. If you talk to them, they'll talk to you. So reach out to people because I promise you, your peers, in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, what they're doing is going to be amazing. And I want to be connected to you all. So look what I'm saying on this page. Reach out to me, connect on LinkedIn, because I know you're all going to be doing fascinating, amazing stuff. Let's help each other. That's what this is really all about. So, and my story as being a student, I call it cheat like crazy, not at your exams. Don't cheat at exams. I don't want you to do that. But when it comes to this, people think, oh, well, I couldn't ask. I couldn't go the extra mile, but you can. When I wanted to get into P&G, I networked into P&G. Now, I had to do the front door application. I had to do the application form. I had to do the math test, the verbal test, the 3-day assessment center. I had to do all of that stuff. But guess what I did beforehand? I went along to the campus presentations every time they were there. And I also went along to additional off-site, off-campus presentations. And I networked with the people who already had the jobs. And do you know what I said to them? When it comes to the interview, what do I have to say to get the job? Surely that's cheating. How could you ask such a thing? And do you know what they told me?
Yeah.
The answer. They told me the answer. They told me exactly what they were going to ask me at the interview. So guess what? When I went into the interview, I told them what they told me to tell them. And I got the job. Don't feel you can't do that. Because I promise you, most people think that's impossible to do. And it's not. Let me tell you the secret. They wanted leadership. And what they told me when I networked that, here's the secret. They said, Sam, we're going to ask you repeatedly, give us examples of when you have led a team successfully. And by the end of it, I was down to my cross-country experience in my little shorts and my vest, and how I was the, the lead cross-country captain at school. But I'd already used all my work experience examples, but because they asked me 7 times about leadership. But because I had prepared for that by networking, I knew the answers. I was ready. And otherwise, I wouldn't have got through. And I wouldn't have that journey that I told you about, because P&G was so helpful for me. So just being a student is great. It means you can start early, like earlier than some of us did, like me. So go for this. Find your dream 30, work out who they are, and get in touch with them. Ask questions.
Okay, one last question, and then I'm gonna be over to Abrar then. How can we turn our LinkedIn connections into potential clients?
Well, if I knew the answer to that, I would be a millionaire. It's a great question. Honestly, there's a very simple model called know, like, and trust. And know, like, and trust helps people to buy from you. And so you could say, I'm doing it right now. Let's be very upfront about it, because sure, I'm doing this because I want to give, but I'm doing it because I want to give because I want to grow my business and my profile and my personal brand. So, you know, let's be very upfront about that. I'm trying to give you all as much as I can, but that's because I want you to know me, hopefully like me, and trust me. I want you to think of me as your go-to source when it comes to this kind of information. I'm trying to position myself as that in your heads. That's my brand. My obvious candidate brand. I can help you land the job you want. I've done it hundreds of times before. And so if you want it, that's the way to do it. So content and also repetition. This is why for all those weak ties, it's why I talk about those acquaintances. And LinkedIn is so good because every time you post, now not everyone sees everything, but when you're sharing content like that regularly, people get to know you. Video, of course, is great for doing that, but actually it's about demonstrating experience. You see along the bottom of the screen here, credibility factors from where I've been seen before. It's all about building trust. And I think the more contacts you get, and it's not always about giving something for free. Sometimes it's about having a quick consultation, but I don't like on LinkedIn the approach, the connect, and then the instant pitch. Oh, it drives me crazy because I want someone to actually care about me, not just see me as the next number, as in, can they make some money out of me? And so I really try to avoid that. Like I said, for me, connections are not connections. Let me end on that. Connections are people, help people. That's how networking will work.
Excellent. Sam, on behalf of the IoBM alumni, the faculty, on behalf of all those who are attending, we're getting a lot of queries. So my request to Kamran and Sarah, we'll just look at all those who have registered, and we'll reach out to them. And we'll come back to you with the top 5 who've qualified for today's introductory obvious candidates free sessions, the winners. I would want to thank you, Sam. These are tough times. You've invested so much time with us. I know you've been with the team who's managed to put this all together for the last 2.5 weeks. For all the audiences who are listening in, we've been working tirelessly to ensure that Sam comes on our network. This was a need. This was something which was identified in COVID times across the community of 13,000 plus alumni. We're very positive. We're very serious about ensuring that this message reaches out to all of us. So we had a great participation, but we will also follow up with a one-pager. Sarah, what do you think? A one-pager infographics of today's session, right? Because we would want to document it. And we would want to share these great learnings with all these candidates. So we love you. Sam, thank you so much. This was very professionally conducted. I think as a marketeer, you have really touched, that insight of the marketeers and all those who are currently looking at the opportunities. And we are hungry for more. So
we are.
Well, thank you so much, and to everybody at the Institute of Business Management. It's been honestly, I'm honoured to address you all and to share this. So thank you so much for the opportunity, for the platform, and thank you for your time at the weekend. I know many of us will have family. I think I've got a 2.5-year-old waiting for daddy now, so I'll switch roles. I'll switch roles. We're all people. We're all family people. So take time with them. That's really important. Look after your strong ties, and then maybe when you get back to work, you can focus on the weak ties again.
Until the next time.
Thank you so much, Sam.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you.
Sam, thank you so much indeed. Sarah, all the team who's tirelessly worked on putting this up together. We were live on Facebook, live on Zoom. Everyone stay safe, look after yourself, work on your network, and we will definitely, inshallah, come back to you very soon with the next session, which is more so going to be winning on your LinkedIn. Sam, thank you very much, and have a great weekend. Sarah, thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Look after yourself. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.